you've been alone. Whether by choice or by circumstance, the world's noise faded. The pressure to connect, to chase, to perform, it stopped. Maybe you were healing, maybe you were building, maybe you just needed to disappear, but now you're ready to re-emerge. And a question burns inside. Can I still create attraction? Can I build tension, chemistry, desire, after I've been away from women, touch, and conversation for so long? This video answers that question with clarity and precision. If you've ever feared that you've lost your edge or forgotten how to connect, this will reawaken something real in you. Sexual tension isn't about saying the perfect thing. It's not about performance, status, or smooth lines. Sexual tension is about energy. And energy doesn't die when you go silent. It builds. Some men think that time away makes them cold. Others realize it makes them magnetic if they know how to return the right way. That's the shift we're about to make, from stillness to fire, from inner work to outer connection, from solitude to presence that makes her lean in before you even speak. Let's begin. Number 1. Understanding solitude versus isolation. Solitude is not the enemy of attraction, it's the foundation, but only if it's real solitude, not emotional hiding, not unconscious numbing. There's a difference between being alone by design and being alone because you've shut yourself down. Solitude is active. You're aware, you're listening to yourself, you're clearing noise, you're coming home to your center. Isolation is passive. You're avoiding, you're withdrawing not to find peace but to escape pain. A man in solitude sharpens. A man in isolation softens into confusion. So the first step isn't speaking to a woman. It's asking yourself, where have I really been? If your time alone was honest, if you faced yourself, sat in your silence, moved through your triggers, then you're not behind. You're ahead. You've built a type of stillness most men never access. And that stillness? That's what creates tension. When you re-enter the world with a grounded nervous system and a quiet mind, you don't need to chase. You don't even need to say much. You just exist differently. You walk into a room and people feel something. You speak and your voice lands. You pause and your silence creates curiosity. That's the reward of real solitude. It forges presence. But if you've been hiding, numbing, disconnected, then before you engage with anyone else, you must reclaim your aliveness. That doesn't start with social skills. It starts with breath, with movement, with remembering that your body is the home of your masculine presence. And it needs to be awake before it can be attractive. You do not build tension by acting like someone you're not. You build it by remembering who you are and letting that truth rise through your body, your posture, your voice, your eyes. Whether you've been gone for months or years, whether you chose to leave or life pulled you into the dark, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from stillness. And that's a powerful place to begin. Number 2, sexual energy is a muscle, not a mood. Most men treat their sexual energy like a light switch. Either it's on or it's off. Either they feel it or they don't. And when they've been in solitude, emotionally detached, physically untouched, socially distant, they assume the switch is broken. They think they've lost it. But that's not how masculine energy works. Sexual tension, attraction, the deep pull between you and a woman, all of that doesn't come from mood. It comes from your nervous system, your breath, your eyes, your energetic clarity. It comes from your ability to direct your attention, stay grounded in your body, and hold tension inside yourself first, which means it can be trained, like a muscle. When you've been out of the game for a while, when you haven't flirted, touched, teased, or engaged, you might feel numb, empty, disconnected. But that numbness isn't weakness, It's dormant strength. Your body hasn't forgotten. It's just gone quiet. And now, it's time to wake it up. So how do you rebuild your sexual tension after silence? First, start with breath. Your breath is your anchor. When you control your breath, you control your energy. Most men shallow breathe. Their chest is tight. Their neck is strained. They speak quickly, react fast, and burn out their presence before they even sit down. You can't hold tension if your body is already escaping the moment. Breathe into your belly. Slow down. Lengthen your exhale. Hold eye contact without tensing your jaw. This alone starts activating your sexual polarity, because you're no longer reacting to the world. You're containing yourself. And containment is attractive. Second, reclaim your voice. A man who's been in solitude often loses his vocal rhythm. He's quiet. He doubts the sound of his own opinions. But voice is vibration, and vibration is power. Speak from your chest. Slow your tone. Cut 30% of your words, and let the silence do the rest. Women don't respond to noise. They respond to resonance. And third, train your micro-expressions. Sexual tension doesn't explode. It simmers. A slightly raised eyebrow, a 2-second pause before answering, a head tilt, a blink that lasts just half a second longer than usual. These are the signals that speak to her body before her brain catches up. Most men think seduction starts with touch, but it starts way earlier, in the moment she feels your attention hold her without flinching. When she realizes you're not in a rush, you're not seeking approval, you're enjoying the tension and letting her feel it too. That's what happens when you train your sexual energy like a muscle. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. A glance becomes a message. A pause becomes a whisper. A shift in posture becomes a memory she can't shake. And the best part? You never have to say anything she hasn't heard before. You just say it with stillness, grounding, and slow, deliberate energy. Suddenly, ordinary words feel powerful, because they're coming from a man who's reconnected with himself first. So if you've been quiet, disconnected, alone, don't panic. You're not broken, you're untrained. And training begins now. Every breath, every interaction, every glance is an opportunity to rebuild the tension that once came naturally. You're not trying to get something from her. You're reactivating something in you, something ancient, something magnetic, something that doesn't need to be loud, because its silence says more than most men ever will. Number 3, rebuilding polarity without force. Most men, after a long time away from women, feel this internal panic. A quiet but heavy voice says, "I've forgotten how to do this." So when they try to return, they compensate. They overthink what to say. They push too hard. They lean in too quickly. They try to force attraction instead of letting it build. But real polarity, the kind that makes her lean in, hold her breath, smile without understanding why, doesn't come from pressure. It comes from presence. The more you try, the less she feels. Because trying comes from fear. It says, "I need to do something to make this happen." But presence comes from fullness. It says, "I don't need anything from this moment. I am already enough." When you've been in solitude, your greatest asset isn't your words or your techniques. It's your silence. You've been quiet. You've been listening. You've been internal. That's rare. And when you walk into a conversation or a room or a woman's attention carrying that inner stillness, she feels it before you speak. That's where polarity is born. You are not meant to chase. You are meant to hold your ground and let the polarity of your presence create contrast. Feminine energy is emotional, expressive, dynamic. Masculine energy is rooted, observing, anchored. When you return from solitude, your role is to reclaim that anchor. And that starts with your awareness. Start noticing when you speak too quickly to fill silence. Slow it down. Notice when your eyes dart to check her reaction. Hold your gaze. Notice when your posture starts leaning in for approval. Pull it back. Be the mountain. Let her be the wind. Polarity comes from the difference between energies, not from tactics, not from game, but from embodiment. Women don't want a man who performs. They want a man who feels solid, emotionally, physically, energetically. And that kind of man can flirt without needing outcome, can speak without seeking validation, can touch without grasping. You don't need to be intense. You just need to be grounded. That means being okay with the pauses, with the unknown, with her testing you, with her silence. Because when you don't react, she feels the contrast. She feels safe, seen, desired without being pressured. And that, more than any line or move, is what creates polarity after you've been in solitude. You've learned to hold yourself. Now you're learning to hold her, not physically, but energetically, with your presence, with your calm, with the quiet fire behind your eyes that says, "I've been still long enough. I'm ready to see you." That's how you rebuild polarity, not by chasing energy, but by becoming the energy she wants to surrender into. Number 4, speaking to a woman's body through stillness. You've heard it before. She can feel your energy. But what does that really mean? It means that long before you say anything that matters, long before you even touch her hand or ask her out, her nervous system is already reading you. Your posture, your eyes, your silence, your stillness, your ability to hold your own space. Most men walk into a room or a conversation trying to perform. They want to be funny, charming, interesting. They think the words will carry the connection. But women don't fall for words. They fall for what your body says without you saying anything. And the body speaks loudest when it's still. Stillness doesn't mean standing frozen. It means not leaking energy. It means your thoughts, your breath, your gaze, and your intention are all aligned. You're not fidgeting. You're not looking for cues. You're not trying to fill the moment. You are the moment. When a man is deeply still, a woman's body relaxes around him or becomes aroused by him. Sometimes both. Because deep down, women are constantly scanning. Can I trust this man to hold me? Not just physically, but emotionally, energetically? Can he hold the moment, hold tension, hold silence without collapsing into it? Stillness answers yes, without needing to prove it. Here's how it works. You're in conversation. You ask her a question, one that touches something deep, something real. She starts to speak. Most men would interject, comment, or relate. You don't. You hold eye contact. You listen. You let the words settle before you reply. That space you create, it's not empty, it's electric. It says, I'm not afraid of your emotions. I can feel them. I can sit with them. I can make space for all of you. That's when she starts responding physically. Her breath changes. Her gaze softens. Her body leans in. And you haven't touched her once. Stillness is what makes your presence land in her body. It's also what gives weight to your words. When you speak from stillness, your voice vibrates differently. It doesn't reach out. It draws in. It doesn't chase. It attracts. It doesn't entertain. It penetrates. And most importantly, it's felt, not understood. Felt. You could say the most basic sentence, "Tell me more about that." And if it's coming from a grounded, silent center, it lands with more power than 100 clever lines. This is how you speak to a woman's body. By not needing to say much at all. By letting her feel you before she ever hears you. And after a long period of solitude, this is your greatest strength. You've learned to be with yourself. Now use that stillness to become a space that pulls her in, not with force, but with undeniable energetic gravity. She doesn't want a man who reacts to her. She wants a man who can contain her, not with his arms, with his presence. Stillness is how you start. Number 5, from solitude to seduction. You've been in silence, you've slowed down, you've rebuilt. But the moment comes when you want to re-engage, with people, with women, with desire. And here's where most men make their biggest mistake. They try to return as if nothing happened. They try to be who they were before they left. They try to match the rhythm of the world. They speed up, they reach out, they perform. But that energy, the rushing, proving, performing, is the exact opposite of what they spent months cultivating in solitude. You don't return to the world as who you were. You return as something new, something heavier. Still, you return as a man who owns silence, and that silence becomes your seduction. Seduction doesn't begin with touch. It doesn't even begin with words. It begins with contrast. The contrast between the noise of everything else and the stillness of you, the moment she feels your attention, not desperate, not needy, not passive, but focused, calm, and controlled. Her body begins to respond. That's the point of tension. That's the start of seduction. And here's how you carry that energy into the world without breaking it. Start small, but start intentionally. You don't need a nightclub or a dating app to reawaken your edge. Start with micro interactions. Look the barista in the eye when you order. Speak slowly to the cashier. Let your shoulders stay open as you walk through a room. Carry awareness in every movement. You're not flirting. You're re-establishing your masculine presence in the world. Speak less, but with weight. When you begin talking to women again, don't compensate for lost time. Don't overshare or over-impress. Use pauses. Own silence. Let her fill space if she needs to, and never interrupt that rhythm. You lead by anchoring, not by speeding up. Let your body speak first. Touch is not always needed, but if it comes, it must be intentional. A handshake that lingers one extra second, a shoulder bump followed by eye contact, a playful tap paired with a still gaze. These aren't actions. They're statements of awareness. They say, I see you, and I'm here. Practice until it's instinct. You won't get it perfect the first time. You might feel awkward. You might question if the stillness is working, but stay with it. This is the real game, not lines, not status, not outcome, but presence. The more you practice being grounded in public, the more women feel your energy shift in private. Own that you've changed. You're not the same man you were before solitude, so don't try to act like him. Act like the man who's been through silence and came out with more clarity, more control, more depth. That's the man she feels. That's the man she remembers. This is how you move from solitude to seduction. You don't abandon your stillness. You weaponize it. You don't rush to be understood. You let your energy speak for itself. Because when she feels you, and not just hears you, when your presence says everything your words don't, that's when the seduction begins. And if you've been gone long enough to lose your old patterns, good. That means you're free to return with nothing but power. You thought you were falling behind. That being alone for too long had made you slow, cold, invisible. That maybe, just maybe, the edge you once had was gone. But what solitude really did, if you were honest with it, is forge something most men will never find. It gave you presence. It gave you silence. It gave you back to yourself. And now you know something most never do. You don't build sexual tension by trying. You build it by standing still. It's in your breath, your posture, your eyes, your voice. It's the calm in you that makes her nervous in the best way. It's the pause before you speak that makes her lean in. It's your ability to ask, listen, hold, and lead without flinching, forcing, or pretending. You now carry a gift that only solitude can give, the gift of not needing anything from the moment and still becoming the most powerful part of it. So no, you didn't lose your edge. You grew sharper. You didn't go soft. You went deeper. You didn't fade. You became magnetic. And now that you're stepping back into the world is going to feel it. Because when a man returns from silence with clarity, he doesn't ask for attention. He commands it, not through noise, but through stillness that makes people feel something before they even understand why. This is who you are now. You don't chase women. You don't chase validation. You walk into a room and let the world remember what a man who knows himself truly feels like. If you stayed with me to the end of this video, comment "Unstoppable" right now. Let me see the men who are not starting over, but rising from solitude with more precision, calm, and edge than ever before. Subscribe if this spoke to you on a level no one else ever has. This channel is for men who don't want more tricks. They want transformation. Like this video if it activated something inside you. Share it with a brother who's been in his own silence too long and is ready to rise. Because supporting this channel doesn't just help me, it helps every man who's been told his quiet is weakness, when really it's the beginning of power. See you in the next one. Most men think attraction happens because of looks or lines. But the strongest desire isn't created by what she sees. It's created by what she feels. When a man knows how to speak to her emotions without pushing or performing. When a woman talks with a man who gets this, her guard lowers without her realizing it. Her attention stays locked. Her imagination begins to play. And she starts feeling safe, curious, and wanted all at once. These 5 conversation topics aren't magic. They're precise. And when used with calm, intentional energy, they build attraction without saying anything sexual. You don't need perfect words to create attraction. You need the right energy behind the ones you say. And when a man understands the kinds of conversations that spark a woman's desire, not by impressing her, but by inviting her to feel something deeper, he becomes unforgettable. In this video, I'll show you the 5 conversation topics that calm, emotionally intelligent men, modern playboys, use to build tension, spark interest, and unlock a woman's desire at the psychological level. And if you support this channel, you're not just leveling up alone. You're helping spread real masculine value to thousands of men who need this. Men who've been stuck in their heads, overthinking what to say, or wasting energy chasing when they should be leading. Like, subscribe, and comment to fuel the movement and give more men access to this kind of clarity and power. Let's begin. Number 1. The unspoken future. What does the future look like if it's with the right person? Most people talk about their goals, their plans, their ambitions. But few ever ask, who do you imagine sharing that life with? When you ask this question, what does the future look like if it's with the right person? You're not asking for her checklist. You're inviting her to describe an emotional vision of how it feels to be claimed, held, and led. This question goes beyond the present. It calls her into her future self. And when she answers it, she's not just projecting her dreams, she's subconsciously placing you inside them, measuring your presence against the kind of man she says she wants. That's exactly what you want. She might start with practical things. Someone who supports my career. Someone who communicates. That's fine, let her speak. But as she continues, her answers will soften. She'll go from lists to feelings. I want to feel safe when I come home. I want peace. I want passion that doesn't fade. That shift? That's when she stops talking about a man and starts talking about you. She's watching you as she speaks, feeling your energy, asking herself, is this the kind of man who could carry this vision with me? Could I feel those things with him? And if you're grounded, emotionally calm, and not eager to prove anything, the answer becomes yes. Because men who can hold a woman's future without flinching, men who can hear her longings without offering promises or pressure, just presence, those men become irresistible, not because they're chasing her, but because they represent what her soul is chasing. This is where desire and leadership meet. She's not just attracted to your energy, she's imagining it next to her at every milestone. Not as a fantasy, as a fit. That's different. That's when you stop being just a date, a conversation, a vibe, and start becoming a possibility. A living answer to a future she didn't know how to explain until she said it out loud. And if you want to take this to the next level, when she finishes describing her vision, pause for a moment. Look at her. Then ask, do you feel like you've ever been close to that? Now you're not just in her future, you're rewiring her past. She'll think back to the men who didn't measure up, the ones who fumbled, who felt too light, too reactive, too chaotic. And in that contrast, you begin to shine. Not because you said you were different, but because you asked something no one else ever had, and held space for it like a man. That experience doesn't fade, it lives in her. So ask this with quiet confidence. Let her picture the life she really wants. Let her describe it fully, and while she's speaking, don't say a word. Just be the calm, masculine presence that makes her believe it's possible. Because once a woman starts imagining a future, and places you in it without meaning to, she's no longer wondering if she's attracted to you. She's wondering if she's already started falling. Number 2, presence and fantasy. What moment with someone made you feel truly seen? When you ask a woman this question, you're doing something most men are too distracted or insecure to do. You're asking her to drop her mask and tell you about a moment when someone actually touched her emotionally. Not physically, emotionally. This is powerful. Why? Because in that moment of sharing, she is not just telling you a story. She is reliving the experience in her nervous system. The glances, the stillness, the exact words that landed. And you, sitting there, calm, grounded, become a container for that memory. That's when she starts associating those feelings with you. When a woman feels seen, it means someone picked up on the unspoken. They noticed her silence, her emotion, her contradiction. They named it without pushing. That kind of presence is rare, and you, by simply asking the question, show her you understand how deep connection is built. She may share something soft. I had a friend who just always knew when something was wrong without me saying a word. Or she may say something raw. There was this one guy who said something so simple that made me feel totally exposed, but in a good way. Whatever she says, let her say it fully. Don't cut in. Don't redirect it toward yourself. Don't analyze it. Just hold the space. Let her feel what it was like to be in that moment again. Because what you're doing isn't just hearing a story, you're helping her feel the value of being seen again in your presence. That's rare. That's what makes you different. This question does more than build trust. It creates a bridge between memory and imagination. She remembers the way she felt. But now she's feeling that while looking at you. That overlap? That's psychological seduction, without a single sexual word. And if you've been calm, present, and silent while she speaks, she starts wondering, could he be that man too? Is he seeing me now like I was seen then? Is this happening again? That's what makes you unforgettable. Because men who talk too much never get here. Men who perform never reach this level. But a man who can guide a woman into her own emotional memory while staying completely centered becomes more than interesting. He becomes emotionally significant. And once you're emotionally significant, her body begins to respond to your stillness. Not your actions, not your compliments, but your presence. So ask this question with intention, with care, with zero rush. Say it slowly, then lean back. Let her go there. Let her feel. Let her remember. And whatever she says, end it with a sentence like, "That sounds like a moment you didn't expect, but probably needed." Not a performance, not a tactic, just a mirror. And that mirror becomes the window she sees you through. Number 3, temptation and rebellion. What do you secretly wish you could do more of? Every woman holds a part of herself back. The boldness, the mischief, the wild side. It's not because she doesn't want to express it. It's because society, expectations, even past relationships have taught her to be the good girl, to stay polite, composed, careful. But that other part of her, the one that craves more freedom, more edge, more play, it never goes away. When you ask, "What do you secretly wish you could do more of?" you offer her an opening into that part of herself. A part that's been waiting to come out, but only in the presence of a man who won't judge it, who won't try to control it, who simply invites it. That's the key. This question invites her to flirt with her own rebellion, not in a vulgar way, not in an obvious way, but in a way that feels emotionally safe, yet mentally dangerous. She might laugh. She might dodge it. She might try to keep it surface level. "I wish I could take more vacations," or "I wish I could say no to people more often." That's her testing the water. How you respond next matters. Don't press. Don't force. Just smile and say, "Interesting. I bet there's more to that." Then pause. Hold your gaze. Let her wonder what you're seeing. Let her decide how much more she wants to show. This moment is where the magic happens, because now her body is involved. She's no longer just speaking. She's feeling. Her pulse rises. Her posture shifts. She's choosing between protection and self-expression. That contrast, the tension between who she is publicly and who she wants to be privately, becomes your playground. And if she gives you something real, if she says, "I wish I could be less in control all the time," or "I wish I could let someone else lead for once," now you've entered her emotional shadow. And the man who can hold a woman's shadow without trying to fix it or shame it becomes irresistible. Why? Because you're showing her that all parts of her are safe with you. Not just the polished ones, not just the sweet or successful or socially correct ones, but the wild parts. The parts that crave to be expressed and never have been. You're giving her permission to stop performing. And when a woman stops performing, she starts feeling. And when she starts feeling, she starts imagining. And once her imagination is active, with you at the center of it, you've stepped into the zone of psychological desire. You didn't touch her. You didn't seduce her directly. You simply gave her the space to be realer than she's used to, and now she associates that freedom with you. This is why calm, stoic men don't chase. They don't need to. They become the space where women bring their real selves, and that space becomes addictive, because it's rare. So next time you're in a conversation and things feel light, fun, but surface level, ask this. Ask it slowly. Ask it with curiosity, not judgment. And then wait, because what comes after this question is often something she's never said out loud. And when she finally says it, she won't forget who gave her the courage to speak it. Number 4, self-evolution. What are you working on in yourself right now? Every woman, on some level, is trying to grow. She might not use those words, but inside she wants to feel like she's becoming more powerful, more emotionally stable, more alive. And when you ask her this question, directly, without fluff, you tap into that journey. What are you working on in yourself right now is a simple sentence that creates emotional activation. You're not just asking about her hobbies, you're asking what she's becoming. That's a deeper invitation, and here's why it works. Women want to feel understood, but they also want to feel seen beyond the obvious. When you ask what she's working on, you tell her 2 things without saying them. First, that you respect the process of inner growth. And second, that you see her as a woman capable of change, not just a pretty face, not just someone to date or hook up with, but as a human in evolution. That's rare. Most men only comment on what's visible, her looks, her clothes, her energy. But you're going deeper. You're showing her that what matters to you is her character, her inner structure, her personal development. That creates a powerful emotional shift. She stops trying to impress you. She starts feeling like she can relax and show you her truth. And that's when the walls come down. But there's more to this. When you ask this question, you also get insight into her values. If she says, "I've been working on being more open with my emotions," or "I'm trying to trust myself more," you now understand how to interact with her, what she's hungry for, what she's afraid of, what she's aiming at. You're reading her blueprint. That information gives you quiet leverage. You know where her energy flows. You know how to show up around her. Not to impress, but to align. And when a man aligns with a woman's growth pattern, he becomes emotionally magnetic. She starts to feel like you're not just a man, you're her kind of man. And there's more. When you ask about what she's working on, you also signal something else, that you're the kind of man who works on himself. A woman will mirror the quality of your questions back to you. So don't ask it like a checklist. Ask it with a steady gaze and calm curiosity, like it's something you care about because you live it too. Then, if she asks you the same, don't deflect. Tell her something real. I've been working on being more present in my relationships, slowing down, saying less, leading with stillness. When you say that with conviction, she feels it. She hears not just your answer, but your energy behind the words. And that creates attraction, because you're no longer just a man with good conversation. You're a man with depth. And depth? That's what stays on her mind when the conversation ends. Number 5. Emotional curiosity. What feeling are you chasing lately? This question flips the script on the typical shallow back and forth most people are stuck in. It invites her to look inward, even just for a moment, and ask herself something she rarely stops to consider. Most people move through life trying to stay busy, entertained, or productive. But underneath that movement is emotion, longing, craving, avoidance, hunger, fear, hope. When you ask a woman, "What feeling are you chasing lately?" You bypass logic. You cut through her narrative. You get past her routines and roles and go straight into what her soul is reaching for, whether she realizes it or not. And that's where real connection begins. She might hesitate. She might smile and say, "I've never been asked that." That's the first sign it's working. You've moved her out of autopilot. You've made her curious about herself. And now she's associating that self-curiosity with you. That's deep psychology. Because this isn't a question about what she's doing. It's about how she wants to feel. It's emotional. And women are emotional beings. This is where they live. When you speak to that dimension, she doesn't just hear you. She feels you. That's when she starts to lean in. Maybe she says, "Peace. I've been chasing peace," or "excitement. I feel like I've been in a rut." Whatever she says, don't jump in. Don't fix. Don't relate right away. Just pause. Let it settle. Let her hear her own words. That silence between her answer and your next response is where she starts to think, "Why am I telling him this? Why does this feel so easy? So good?" That's the emotional signature of presence. Now here's the part most men miss. Your energy when asking this question matters just as much as the words themselves. You don't ask this to sound deep. You ask it because you're grounded enough to hold the answer. You're not afraid of whatever she might say. You're not here to fix it. You're here to feel it with her. That's what creates safety. And safety is the first step to desire. Because when a woman feels safe enough to share the emotion she's been chasing, and you don't flinch, don't analyze, don't interrupt, you become the man who can hold space for all of her. That includes her feminine chaos, her uncertainty, her fear, her fire. You're not trying to control it. You're witnessing it. And that experience is rare for her. That's why she'll remember it. The beauty of this question is also how it opens the door to subtle intimacy. Maybe you say, "That makes sense. A lot of people chase connection but settle for distraction." You don't say it as a criticism. You say it as a mirror. You're not analyzing her. You're revealing the pattern most people are too busy to notice. And when she asks what you're chasing, that's your opportunity to show self-awareness without performance. Maybe you say, "Stillness. I'm learning that I move fast to avoid feeling certain things. So lately I've been slowing down, letting them catch up." That response shows emotional maturity. You're not avoiding your internal world. You're leading from it. This is how Stoic men build tension, not through flashy words or trying to seduce, but by giving a woman space to explore herself emotionally, and by standing in that space with complete calm. She doesn't know why she's drawn to you. She just knows she is. Because no one else makes her feel this safe to be real, and that's the feeling she wants again. Now you understand. You don't need louder words. You don't need more compliments, better lines, or to constantly prove yourself. All you need is this: a calm center, grounded masculine energy, and the ability to ask the kind of questions that open her without forcing her. These 5 conversation topics don't impress her. They awaken her. Not because of the topics themselves, but because of the space you create when you ask them. A space that's calm, curious, unrushed, safe, and electric. Let's recap. What are you working on in yourself right now? Taps into growth, identity, and emotional respect. What feeling are you chasing lately? Turns the surface inward, brings up what's emotionally alive. What do you secretly wish you could do more of? Awakens her private rebellion and subconscious desire. What moment with someone made you feel truly seen? Links you to her emotional memory and safety. What does the future look like, if it's with the right person? Calls her into her highest vision, and plants you inside it. Now imagine combining these questions with your stoic presence, your quiet confidence, your stillness. You wouldn't just be a man she wants to talk to, you'd be a man she feels safe fantasizing about. That's not game, that's depth. And once a man has that, he doesn't chase attraction. He becomes the space it flows to. If you made it this far, comment "unstoppable" below. Let me see the men who are done trying to impress and ready to embody presence. Let me see the ones stepping into real masculine conversation power. Subscribe if you want more tools like this. Not surface-level dating hacks, but deep, elite-level inner game strategies that make women feel you before you speak. Like and share this video if you believe more men need to learn how to speak with intention, lead with calm, and attract with emotional intelligence. And if this helped you see the difference between chasing attention and becoming unforgettable, then help us spread this message to every man who's ready to evolve. Because this isn't about tricks, this is about transformation. The kind that happens one question at a time. See you in the next one.